Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Proto Man here once again, and I'm back for the likes of the Metroid videos. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Metroid 2, The Return of Samus for the Game Boy. So, I believe if I recall correctly, it's the fact that last time we left off, is the fact that I'm pretty sure we actually did manage able to start things off in Phase 4, and managed able to actually kill all kinds of different Metroids here and there. In addition to those kind of stuff though, is the fact that I'm pretty sure that we've actually encountered the next variant of the forms of those Metroid types, which appears to be Gamma Metroids, at least as far as I can recall that. So, today for this video is the fact that we'll be able to actually just to carry on doing the forms of Phase 4, and eventually we'll move on to possibly one of the shortest phases we have to go through afterwards. So, because believe me what I'm saying is the fact that, excuse me, about the fact the matter is though, is the fact that Phase 4 is without a doubt the longest phase throughout the whole game, just because, well, as far as I'm aware, that I think you have to come across into 10 Metroid encounters that we have to stumble across into. So either way though, I apologize for that particular very awkward commentary for starters, but that's only mainly because, as far as I'm aware, that it's been about 2 days ago since we actually last recorded this, because obviously I was being busy lately, especially noticeable I'm still playing The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild due to the forms of Tears of the Kingdom is about to be releasing at some point during the forms of it next year. So yeah, because I thought to myself that because I was gonna be able to continue things on and doing the forms of certain commentaries here and there, so we can basically guarantee about the fact that we can able to go back into our resuming point for commentary for the sake of time. So yeah, anyway though, a few things we want to explain for this point today, and that is the fact that today's day is of course the 20th of October today, in this case in 2022 today. So in addition about the fact that we can probably discuss the elephant in the room, which appears to be by the forms of the new Super Mario Bros. Movie that we actually did saw the teaser trailer for the film, which I'll explain more details as soon as we're able to continue exploring for this place. In addition to that though, there are few exciting new things is about to be happening for the sake of the forms of the next coming days. First off is the fact that, well, as you probably already know, for those of you who lived in the UK, for the bronies out there exclusively, is the fact that, well, in addition with the forms of the US version of My Little Pony the movie 2017, version of the film has already been out for about 5 years ago. For the US version, well, suffice to say, in the UK version gets the same treatment, but it forms of today on the 20th of October. So yes, the UK version of the film is also 5 years old recently today. So as a result though, yeah, yet again, happy 5th anniversary of the film itself. So because of this though, time flies, doesn't it? And in addition to that though, recently today marks the celebration of the release of the new game that we actually got for our Nintendo Switch. During the forms of this particular recording sessions for this daily uploads as far as I'm aware. That will have to be by the forms of, yes, Mario Plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope has recently came out recently on the Nintendo Switch, and how dare you push me back? That gosh darn Gamma Metroid here and there. But I digress. Hopefully we can able to take him down like no sweat with all these missiles and what have you. So I guess that might be seems to takes a piece of cake or something like that. Well, I've noted why I say things weirdly enough, like I said before, but that's only mainly because, again, it's been about 2 days ago since I actually last recorded this, but trust me, it's the fact that sometimes, with all that conversation, with all that commentary in mind, sometimes it's kind of hard to think straight. But either way though, that's only mainly because I was being busy playing Breath of the Wild, which, talking of which, when it comes to Zelda Breath of the Wild, I'm actually going to be deciding to take a break on that game for a while, because as I mentioned this before, Mario Plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope has recently came out today for the Nintendo Switch, and overall, as far as for my first impressions of the game, I'm actually very happy about the forms of how the sequel of Mario Plus Rabbids did turn out. Especially noticeable because it's actually a little bit more open world this time around though, as opposed to somewhat leniency. And on top of all that stuff though, I just really love the fact that with all that space environments they obviously brings us into. In addition to that though, is the fact that I always enjoy the turn-based, grid-based system. Oh wait, no way. It's no longer grid-based system anymore, because instead it's been replaced as in, let's just say like a movement, arena kind of, turn-based, things itself, which I will say, it does feel a lot more satisfying this time around, as opposed to the forms of the grid-based system from the original game. Well, don't get me wrong, I still enjoy the first game still, but it's just the fact that it's so gosh darn hard, I'm still stuck on these tougher battles and stuff like that. So as a result though, I'm very glad that this was actually improved. And on top of all that stuff though, I was very shocked about the fact that certain rabbit characters do manage to able to talk this time around though, which I wasn't expecting now for my first impressions of the game, especially noticeable because, well, relatively speaking though, I just did not notice that was a thing after all. Well, mind you, because of our fact that, well, I'll explain more details about the forms of our another thoughts throughout, like specifically when it comes to visuals and the soundtrack as a result. And on top of all that stuff though, I did not notice that Bebo, that originally in the first game, in the Kingdom Battle, that he doesn't usually speak as much, but it turns out that Bebo actually talks this time around though in Sparks of Hope, which that seems pretty cool though, I'm not gonna lie, because it's especially noticeable about the fact that, well, at the moment right now, I'm actually on the first world at the moment, but either way though, it does make me realize about the fact that I'm actually going to be enjoying the game a lot more, because as a result though, that'll be my good to go when it comes to likely playing the game on the go. And on top of all that stuff though, is the fact that we can able to actually wait for quite a few weeks now until specifically Sonic Frontiers, in fact between Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, in addition to Sonic Frontiers, that those are the only two games, along with Zelda Breath of the Wild, that those are the three games I'm actually very looking forward to able to playing through on my own time for on handheld mode, for, you know, play on the go and stuff like that, which is always appreciation. So, in fact, let me know in the comments down below for the question of the day. What was your first impressions in terms of the forms of what Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, that since that game finally came to its release? So as a result though, and I think relatively speaking, I think that game was actually the final game to be released on 2022 when it comes to Mario games related. Well, technically if you don't want to count DLC updates for Mario Strikers Battle League Football, in addition to, you know, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Wave 3, because as far as I'm aware, that's as far as we can able to essentially we're trying to get for, you know, Mario game releases for 2022, which unfortunately though, just like in the forms of how it does it on 2020 rather, that the actual Mario game selection is actually rather small. Especially noticeable because it's bad enough about the fact that, well, don't get me wrong, we did have some good titles, don't get me wrong, such as for instance that, you know, we actually got ourselves some cool Kirby games after all, because, you know, 30th anniversary and stuff like that. So as a result though, there's not much else to discuss, so... Anyway, another thing I would like to explain, and that is the forms of the elephant in the room when it comes to this particular conversation, is that, yes, I've managed able to went to see the Super Mario Bros. Movie teaser trailer, and I'm gonna say, I am very impressed with how the actual movie's visual style actually turns out. But I will say, it feels a lot more exciting than the forms of how it does on that pretty terrible 1993 movie. I'm guessing because, well, they've learned their lesson after the events of that box office bombed for the live-action movie adaptation, because screw that film, because let's face it, the animated counterpart looks very promising, and especially noticeable, it looks a lot more gorgeous, and on top of that, most of those character designs is actually very accurate than the likes of how it does it on, well, let's just say the visual, the character models looks very accurate to the games themselves. Like, for instance, on the beginning portion of the teaser trailer, that it basically shows Kamek as well as the Koopa Trooper army, and oh man, they look very accurate. Especially Bowser, which also looks very accurate as well, so a lot more better than that stupid human counterpart, which I know for the fact that, well, forgive me about the forms of the defenders of the forms of Dennis Hopper, that who actually did the voice actor of Koopa from the likes of that terrible live-action adaptation. But but it's just the fact that I think, to me, Bowser in the animated counterpart looks so accurate this time around, which is always appreciation. And it looks like the screen somehow vibrates, which means we are now moving on to Phase 5, which means that since that Phase 4 is now recently wrapped up. So I think we're now onto the halfway point of the game already. So in this case though, it's the fact that we've only got about quite a few phases left. So in this case though, we haven't got far into it at this point. So either way though, in fact between this phase we're going to be entering into right now, which is Phase 5, alongside with this next one afterwards, those two phases coming up is going to be also very short as well, but you still need to able to go through a lot of exploration around here, so that maybe seems the case. So anyways, let's get to the films of another thing about the films of the Super Mario Bros. Movie by, you know, Universal Illumination Studios, and especially noticeable with Nintendo Film as a result. I do really love the fact that, well, despite how most people gets a bit of a tad nitpicky about the films of Mario's design a little bit, but it does take a while to get used to it, because let me tell you, he's almost very accurate. I mean, sure enough, it does have some bit of differences here and there, like for instance that Mario now actually has a collar on the actual shirt. So that's a little bit different. And also he now got his lasers from the likes of his shoes. And on top of all that stuff though, it does have this little triangle edges between the forms of his wrists from the gloves. Which, sure enough though, still looks very accurate to me though. Because it kind of reminds me of a similar style as in the forms of the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, live-action movies. But either way though, except the fact that this is animated rather than live-action. And speaking of which though, another thing I do appreciate about this accuracy is the fact that I love how Toad actually looked for the sake of the forms of this new upcoming movie, which sure enough looks very accurate, even though it does show up its teeth a little bit, but it doesn't bother me too much though, because as a result though, I am so excited about the fact that how this movie is going to represent it with. So, although technically speaking though, there was actually that one particular reaction video that I've somehow managed to saw, and that's what appears to be known as the channel called Super Mario Shows, in this case SMS for short. Apparently though, he did somehow manage to able to did his own reaction video here and there as well, but the only downside about that video though is the fact that, well, don't get me wrong, the actual sound quality is top notch. However though, the game, or the actual video footage keeps lagging all the time, which I know it seems a little bit nonsensical, but as a result of that kind of stuff though, it's just the fact that, well, that happened to me during that time as well, whenever I decided able to do the Nintendo Direct live action, or the live reaction and stuff like that, but it came out to be the exact same results. So, yeah, I feel like we're on the same treatment, aren't we? So, anyways though, and as far as I'm aware, in that end of that particular teaser trailer, not only does it show Dry Bones, but also Luigi in action as well, and holy macaroni, that both Dry Bones as well as Luigi is also very accurate. So I cannot wait to see how the fact that until specifically, let's just say until in springtime, during the films of sometime in 2023, that hopefully we get ourselves another trailer, but this time around though with the full cast. And hopefully we should be able to actually see some interesting parts here and there. Because mind you, it's just a teaser trailer, so yeah, just like the forms of how it does it on Sonic the Hedgehog 2, since in last year. So we're able to actually hopefully stay tuned for more information, alongside with the forms of some more clips to be found for the sake of the forms of this amazing upcoming movie. In fact, I'm sure enough though, a lot of people seem to be able to have a lot of excitement for the Super Mario Bros. Movie, because what do you expect? Because hopefully it should be a lot more better, or should I say, 100 times is better than the forms of how it does it on that pretty miserable 1993 live-action movie adaptation. Because let me tell you, still, I want to say this again, because obviously though, that film in 1993 version of Super Mario Bros. Live-action movie, it sucks. And especially it doesn't help about the fact that it ends up with this out-of-place cliffhanger, and because of that though, that's how the film actually ended with, for the sake of the forms of the 1993 movie. But anyway, so anyways, let's take down the another Gamma Metroid. In fact, relatively speaking, as soon as we're done with that, I think that basically wraps it up for phase number 5, because as far as I'm aware, the screen starts to rumble, so this means phase 5 actually ends. So again, it is very short for Phase 5, despite you have to do with a lot of exploration, and as a result, we now move on to Phase 6. And I think Phase 6 is also very short as well, so we can basically try to find some more Metroid types here and there, so we can basically guarantee about the fact that, well, that's another thing about the fact that, you know, as far as I think I want to mention about this again anyway, that most people complain about the forms of this game doesn't seem to able to have different variety when it comes to boss fights, because they just wish if they are able to include Ridley, Crid, and especially noticeable with the forms of Mother Brain. But apparently though, because we ended up exploring in a different planet instead of like the usual Norfair, Brimstar, which I do get it because it takes place in a different environment like SR388, but still, it just feels a little bit nitpicky at times, so, but that's just me. Oh, and on top of that, in addition about the fact that there's one thing that I suppose that some toys else, in addition to, Maxi has totally forgot to mention about during the course of a Super Luigi Galaxy playthrough in a Super Mario 3D All-Stars game, that apparently though, Octopath Traveler not only does it usually going to be releasing until, usually it's going to be releasing until the 24th of February in 2023, around the same day as in, Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe for the Nintendo Switch, but also that Octopath Traveler 2 is also be releasing until not only Steam, but also PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. So, yeah, multi-platform going on around here. So, as a result though, I've honestly have no idea why I've somehow managed able to ignore that particular fact, but mind you, because I was still busy, you know, so as a result though, yeah, that's not much else to say about this, so. Oh, and also another thing, it's been like 12 days, better late than never kind of routine or something like that, but I might as well say that, but either way though, happy 8th late birthday for the release of Super Smash Bros. For the Nintendo 3DS, which I can't even believe that game has been out for about 8 years ago now, which, again, time flies all of a sudden, especially noticeable because, well, relatively speaking, despite I haven't played that game that much anymore though, mainly because I'm more into the forms of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and as well as the forms of Super Smash Bros. For the Wii U, and all that jazz, and, oh yeah, and on top of all that stuff though, ever since about 13 days ago, that Franking Weenie actually becomes a decade old, which, you know, that film is made specifically, it's been like a dog version of Frankenstein, except the fact that it's basically made by Disney, of course, and yeah, I still haven't seen the film yet for so many years now, but as far as I'm aware, it does look very interesting with its visual style and all that stuff, but yeah, I can't even believe that Franking Weenie, the Disney film regardless, is actually now, well, a decade old, since 2012. So, again, time flies, like, I still have no idea how do I explain about this, because either way, though, that's sure it's something, so. Anyways, another thing I would like to explain while this is happening is the fact that, yeah, in addition with the new Mario movie trailer that magically came up, also during exactly the same day, mind you about the fact that it came out before the Mario movie teaser trailer, that it appears to be about the fact that, yeah, we actually got ourselves another trailer from the likes of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and I have mixed results with that trailer. First off, I do like the idea that it's still going to be open world exploration type of thing. However though, I somehow come to realize that this is a prime example. I probably still might not try to consider getting Pokemon mainstream games, because well, I've noticed that one little tiny thing that does bother me. Well, first of all though, is the fact that I do like the Pokemon selection, which as to be expected because it looks interesting, and on top of that, it takes place in the forms of well, the actual Spain region, so that makes it a little bit obvious. I'm not exactly sure what this region is called, by the way, because it's been about quite a few days since I actually mentioned something related to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, because, I mean, let's face it, because I think, relatively speaking though, it's just the fact that I usually prefer playing spin-offs more than main games, I must be honest, but either way though, that's just my kind of thing, so. Anyway, so let's go up here, because I get the strong sense of feeling there'll be another Metroid up there, so, and I think by that time, after we're done with that particular Metroid I'm gonna go after, I think this is where we're able to actually move on to the next phase, if I recall. So, anyway, there also includes a bit of a fascinating gimmick when it comes to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and that is the fact that they're now able to actually include the special machine called, let's just say, Technique Machine, which, as a result, though, I found it quite fascinating with all that visual style alike, and especially noticeable how it functions. But either way, though, it might be still a little bit more unexpected and nothing special when it comes to likely having, you know, Technique machines and stuff like that. But regardless of such, though, you can able to actually edit in. Well, it's hard to explain, honestly, because it's been, you know, a very long while since I actually known about Pokemon main titles, as far as I'm aware. So anyway, so let's go ahead and take down the Gamma Metroid right here, so we can able to actually once again deal with missiles here and there. And once that's done, we've already got 13, oh actually no wait, 13 Metroids left. And on top of that, we are moving on to the next phase, which, truth be told, Phase 6 and Phase 5 are the shortest phases in the game. And on top of that, we are now moving on to Phase number 7. So, expectingly that the game starts to get a little bit tough and challenging as a result. And of course, we do need able to use Space Jump, just in case that we will definitely need to avoid a pool of lava, as you can tell. So, anyway, so as far as that one little tiny nitpicking problem I have with that particular trailer for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is that not only does the visuals might feel a bit rough around the edges though, although don't get me wrong, it does look pretty nice I guess, but it's nowhere near as like gorgeous as compared to Super Mario Odyssey or The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and heck, even especially noticeable with Kirby and the Forgotten Land, because after all, those three games look spectacular to look at. So, but that's just my theory, and I might be biased, I guess. But of course, that just like in any other mainstream Pokemon titles, that basically the frame rate is locked to 30 FPS, which is nothing new or anything. Although, unlike something related to, well, you know what I mean, any spin-off Pokemon titles on the Switch, that does manage to run consistently within 60 FPS, which to be expected for the most part with all these spin-off Pokemon games as far as I'm concerned. But one thing that does bother me though, and that is that one particular clip when it involves around in when you're trying to find sun flares, as far as I'm aware. Yeah, apparently the frame rate, whenever you're trying to find more of those sun flares, oh my god, what the heck is happening to their movements? Like, it is very choppy with their frame rate and everything, so yeah, it just kind of bothers me for a lot of times as far as whenever I see that in action. I mean, surely it's all I can really think about it though. But, at the very least though, much like the forms of how it does it on Pokemon Sword and Shield, it does manage able to bring back something like a picnic simulator, I guess. Which this time around though, rather than just trying to make yourselves some spicy curry, so instead, in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, you're now able to be making sandwiches instead of spicy curry, which is a bit different, I guess. Oh yeah, speaking of Pokemon actually, it's the fact that until specifically next month, that the Splatfest will be hosting a crossover within Splatoon cross Pokemon because of Scarlet and Violet is almost approaching to its release. So, that seems interesting, because as far as I'm aware, yeah, as I said before, it's going to be releasing until sometime in November, so we don't know when exactly though, but we'll just see what happens in due time, so. And unfortunately though, I'm very unhappy to report is the fact that according to what some YouTubers did somehow manage able to discover something for about a few days ago, despite the fact that it already exists now, but unfortunately, Teen Titans Go reboot is still continuing, so I was like, oh for love of... Sorry, I get ahead of myself, and as far as I'm aware, it's now on to the 8th season. Like, I just don't get it. At first I thought that the Teen Titans Go reboot is about to be done for good, but it turns out it's still going. And as a result though, yeah, I can totally see why that certain fans like that always gets nitpicking, and on top of all that stuff though, it just baffles me. Like, seriously, it just somewhat baffles my mind. But either way though, I've honestly have no idea why I'm just somehow bringing this up. But Anyway, I suppose the last thing I want to mention in regards to the forms of today's discussion, and especially noticeable something related to bronies or My Little Pony fans out there, apparently there's going to be another game is going to be coming, specifically coming soon apparently. That's what appears to be My Little Pony World, which is actually based off from G5, and as far as I'm aware, it's basically another game made by Budget Studios, as far as I recall, the same team who made Harmony Quest and Rainbow Runners, but that was actually G4 variation of those two games they also made. I'm pretty sure that seems to be the case. So, yeah, it's another one of those app games as far as I'm aware, but it plays kind of similar to a Maritime Bay adventure, except that you're able to actually play as all 5 of those main ponies, like, you know, Sunny Star Scout, as well as Izzy, Hitch, Zip, and Pip Pedals. So, yeah, that might be some consumption. So, anyways, here we found ourselves another missile expansion. So, everything else will be good to go around here as far as this has been concerned. So, but yeah, I would like to be able to mention more details about other things, but I think we'll let Pac-Man and Pinkie Pie were able to both mention about that until when they go back onto Mario Party Superstars for their next board, so which should be Woody Woods. And speaking of which though, I think suffice to say, after we come across into our save room here, then I think we should probably end things off here. So join me next time for more of Let's Play of Metroid 2, The Return of Samus. Is the fact that we're about to continue things on in Phase 7, and exponentially we'll try to kill as many of those other Metroids as much as we can. So I'll see you guys until our next Tuesday. Later, fellas.